Hi everyone, it's the Sparkle Girl. So today, as you can notice, I'm going to talk about some of the things that I may have been, mm, it's kind of obvious, like being scared as a kid, which you might either grow out of it when you get older, and sometimes they might still give you a bit of a scare, and when you see them again, something like that. But you can't possibly blame yourself or whatever. But that's just part of our personality. So I can't possibly blame you guys, or you can't really possibly blame me either. So it's pretty normal to get scared, you know. And I pretty doubt that you guys may going to believe that I will going to mention some of the things that I will going to mention in my video. But just before I start, I might as well mention that I kind of already told my best friend Sophie all about it all the time. I didn't bore her to death about it or anything, but Sophie completely understands because Sophie knows how it feels. And I understand her too. And I might as well mention some of the things that Sophie got scared of when she was a kid. If it's okay with her, then I'm pretty sure she will let me anyway. And after all, me and Sophie do usually agree with each other, so let's just say we can't possibly blame each other or anything. So let's get on with the video. So, and actually, before I could start, I'm just going to mention they won't be in actual in order or anything, so I might as well start from the very beginning with Milo the Clown from the Tweenies. And that's how I started have nightmares as a kid. So let's just say it was some time ago, and it was sometime in early 2000s, and I was only a little girl and that, and we were in my nan's house, and me and my sister were watching telly, including our cousins, and I remember my mum was a nurse as well, and one of us were watching this peculiar episode Milo the Clown from the Tweenies on the telly, when the Tweenies used to be on CBeebies all the time back in the 90s until 2002. So let's just say I remember this episode Milo the Clown, and then this one moment where Milo appeared dressing as a clown, and I didn't like one bit. As a kid, I literally jumped out of my skin, something like that. And you can't possibly blame me, but that's just where I am when I was a kid. And I literally started crying, give my mum a hug because she knows I was scared, and my now saying like I was being a bit silly, and she keeps saying that it's not real, but I didn't even know that at all when I was a kid. I mean, because when you're a kid, sometimes you make things something that scares you that you think they actually are real, but clearly they're not actually real because that's just part of our child brain, something like that. So that's just how I remember it, and that's what I just said. That's the first time I started having nightmares as a kid. Ooh, spooky. Okay. So I also remember this one with this episode, But I Like Mud from Harry and the Pocket Full of Dinosaurs, and I kind of remember this moment when Harry was in the scene, in a swamp, where he meet the king of swamp. Well, clearly it's none other than Harry's Nana in disguise. But can I just be pretty honest? I always used to call it the ghost as a kid because I wasn't sure how to call it when I was younger, and so you can't possibly blame me for that. So until I realised it's actually just called a swamp monster. It's just the way it looked. It just spooked me. I remember this one time on my sister's birthday, and then this one moment I was just pressing that video, and then this moment with that swamp monster just appeared on the video and gave me a right jump. Oh, blimey, childhood. Okay. I didn't get scared or anything. It's just nearly give me like, wow, heart attack. but I just remembered. And I also remember, you might as well remember this post that I was talking about this film, but I remember watching as a kid, and it's called um, Undercover Angel. It came out sometime in 1999. And I remember there was a girl called Jenny, and she had this sort of like a stuffed toy of a dodo bird. I didn't like that toy like one bit as a kid. Can't blame me. Believe me, I remember. Do you guys remember this bird Kevin from the Pixar film called Up? Well, I kind of remember I used to have this toy of Kevin. I always keep getting scared of it. It's just the way it looked. Can't forget that bird. That toy of a bird. Well, clearly, like I said, you can't possibly blame me for that. So I just remember being scared of that. I also remember two toys of, well, let's just say it's the same character, but one is big and one is like sort of in between big and small, but I would say medium size. But I would say, if you guys remember my post about the bear from Bear in the Big Blue House, let's just say I did used to get scared of them as well as a kid. Ugh. So, okay, I do sometimes find myself a bit silly for being scared of toys sometimes, And you can't possibly blame yourself for that if you got that same thing when you were a kid and now. And so let's just say, if you guys remember what I mentioned in my post that about my nightmare about it once. Well, a few times actually when I was younger, but not anymore. Okay, I also remember the show called The Grimm's Fairy Tale Classics. And I remember some of the episodes I normally get scared as a kid was Hansel and Gretel, was the witch. Ugh, tell me about it, guys. I don't really like the witch that much in Hansel and Gretel. It's just the way she looks. But there's one scene where after when Hansel strangled her to get away from Gretel because she was about to discipline Gretel and now with her stick. But luckily Hansel saved Gretel. But when the witch turns her face to the screen and then her face just turns different into sort of like a demon and screams like a scream of terror. And I didn't like it one bit. That always scared me the most as a kid when watching that episode. Okay. I also remember this one episode in Puss in Boots. And you might remember this character called the Sorcerer. Well, if some of you have seen the show, then you probably know what I'm talking about. But I just remember the Sorcerer, and he spooks me to life as a kid as well. It's just the way he looks until when he grows taller and his eyes goes bigger and his ears were growing too big as well, and until he turns to a lion. That scares me the most as a kid too. And I also don't like the bit until when he started roaring at Puss in Boots, and then that bit when Puss was like screaming the head out of himself. I didn't like that bit either when he did that, because it's just the way his eyes goes big and seriously now Puss. But I remember this DVD cover of the, well, it's got Puss in Boots and Little Red Riding Hood on it, and I also kind of remember got scared of a picture of Puss in Boots on that DVD. Can't possibly blame me for that either. But I just remember that. What really scared me the most as a kid from the Grimm's Fairy Tale Classics? Well, it's kind of obvious because I know so people can guess what I'm going to talk about here. Bluebeard. So, believe me or not, that's actually one of the most scariest fairy tale of all times in every history. I'm telling you guys the truth, believe me or not. If you can't believe me, that's fine. You can always just look it up. But all I remember this one scene when this girl went into this forbidden room with all like full of, well, Lupia's past wives hanging on the walls, dead. Ugh, disgusting. I don't want to go into the details, but I just remember this one scene. Ugh, don't like all of it. But one of the wives with the scariest, I mean, this one of the moments where until the hand shows up, and then after that with the face, those things that scares me the most as a kid. Okay, so I also, I kind of remember this lion and the bear from the Teletubbies, but that wasn't really quite bother me as a kid or anything, but it's just the way the lion speaks. I don't really kind of like bond to it, you know. But I know you can easily get scared of that as a kid. Okay, I don't want to say anything more, but it's because I don't want it to, embarrass. So, I would say I also remember this one episode from Doctor Who, and I also remember this last bit of the episode called The Water of Mars. After when the 10th Doctor, with David Tennant as a Doctor, because he was upset about he realized his wrongdoings, mistakes, and then when he turned around from his TARDIS, he saw this Ood somewhere further away in the road or something, and that scared me to death as a kid. I didn't like it one bit. It's just the way he just stands there. I mean, seriously, Ood, you always gave me that fright. And that also kind of reminded me with the same thing with Princess Margaret from Jack and the Beanstalk. She did the same thing. Princess Margaret didn't actually scare me like entirely. I mean, not the character herself, but only the moment when Jack reaches to the sky until he saw Princess Margaret just standing there, and the way she just looks at you only for a second on the screen, and then she just pushed the cloud down on my head. Can't possibly blame me for that either. But that's all I'm saying. And but I also remember, I don't know if I told you guys this already, I don't know, but I remember this one scene. Well, there's two scenes actually from the Sleeping Beauty film, the Disney one. Well, I remember this one scene where Princess Aurora was like under a spell by Maleficent until she pricked her finger on the spinning wheel. I didn't like that like one bit as a kid, especially until the other scene that I'm going to mention where Maleficent turned into a dragon. I didn't like the dragon version of Maleficent as a kid, to be honest. I always get nightmares of that too. Well, speaking of dragons, do you guys remember the dragon from Shrek? Well, let's just say she used to scare me as a kid only from the first movie actually, in the Dragon Keep scene, all the way through until the escape scene, and I didn't like it like one bit as a kid. Ugh. And there's another dragon that I also used to get scared of from this episode, The Magic Lamp, from the show called Kipper. I don't like that one bit. Yeah, totally. But I also remember this, do some of you remember the show called Saban Adventures of the Little Mermaid? If you do, then you probably know what I mean. Then all I'm going to say that I remember the first episode of it, Return to the Sea, but this one moment where Maria almost drowned, that scene almost scared me. It's just the way she just drowns, and her hair was like sticking up. I didn't like it one bit as a kid either. Oh, actually, I just remember another thing. Can't really remember the name of the episode, but it's from Lazy Town, to be honest. But Well, I remember this too, actually, but I'm just going to mention first one before. Okay, so I remember this one episode, when Robbie Rotten take over the mayor, and he had to sort of like a puppet. Oh, give me the creep. It almost reminds me of, that thingy from the Halloween movie that we all watched, with Jack Black. You know what I mean, right? Ugh, I think it's called Snappy, I think. Can't remember now. Well, I just know that guy. He's such a creepy. And I also remember this other episode when Lady Town, when you guys know this episode called Ziggy's Alien, where Robbie pretends to be an alien from the space and he lies to Ziggy that he's an alien. And, well, to be honest, I didn't like it one bit when Robbie was dressing as an alien. Oh, scared me, dude. So, that's all I'm saying. And, I also remember this one episode from Angelina Ballerina, and I remember this one episode of Angelina Ballerina, and it's called The Legend of Big Paw. But don't get me wrong, I actually kind of like that episode, to be honest with you guys. But presently, as a kid though, I remember this one scene from the episode where like when Angelina and Henry, her cousin, are in somewhere in the cave and then they just fell down together and then the shadow appeared. That scared me, like, really scared me as a kid. And I didn't like it one bit when the thingy hand just reaches out and something like that. And that's just how I remember. And then I also remember the next moment after that, then this alpha character just appeared out of nowhere. And that gets me rather afraid. Like, give me a heart attack or something? Okay. And I kinda going to mention this. You guys probably remember Finding Nemo. And I also remember got scared of this one scene when Nemo got kidnapped by those, skivers. To be honest, it's mainly the green one that scares me the most as a kid. Although the green skiver is actually the dentist. The guy who works as a dentist and he's actually the little girl's Dala's uncle. Yeah. But he doesn't bother me when he's a dentist, but when he's as a skiver, ugh, don't like it. So yeah, let's just say I just put it that way. And you know that the scene when Dory and Marlin are somewhere, after this whole ship thing nearly was about to fall down to them, and they were both screaming, and when the thingy Max falls like deep, 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 something like that. And I remember this one scene when they were saw this little light, and when they were turned around, I remember this like a big, massive, giant teeth appeared, and you guys can guess the name of that creature, but I can't remember what it's called though. But I just remember that they always gave me a heebie-jeebies as a kid too. Oh, and I also remember, you guys know the BFG, right? Well, he doesn't scare me like entirely, but only at the very beginning, to be honest. I remember this one time when I was a real kid, I was going to be honest with you guys. If you guys remember the scene when Sophie, the girl, saw the bear G outside in her roads or something like that, and you can't possibly see his face like at all. I mean, but that's a really good question actually. how come we can't see Beetlejuice's face at all in the beginning? Doesn't make any sense. But I can see his face 3 times in that scene actually. About like one, maybe I would say 3 times actually. When Beetlejuice saw Sophie and well well I mean the other what okay okay so the first bit was when Beatrice was pouring the green magic into this little bottle, and then the next minute I just already mentioned just then where he saw Sophie, and the next minute when he has Sophie in his hands, and you only can see his mouth and the nose, and that's it. That's like 3 times we can actually can see his face from that moment. But believe me, as a kid, I always have this sort of like imagination, like, will does BG ever come and like kidnap me or something? Imagine that. I mean, if it was real, I don't know if that's gonna happen, but I don't know. But that's just my imagination as a kid, though. So don't get me wrong. And I also remember this one thing from the CBBS, and I would say I remember this thing show called Words and Pictures, Fun and Phonics. And I also kind of remember there was a character called Polly the Pirate, or Bird, whatever. And she scared me a lot as a kid. I also remember that this other thing from the CBBS is a reindeer. Yeah. I probably have shared a post about that like once. But I already explained to Sophie that it will be either Sid or Chris. But if I have to be pretty honest, I would definitely think it's definitely Chris in the costume. I can possibly tell because if I remember correctly, Chris always used to dress all the time. Like, he always wears different kind of costumes, like a jungle, explorer, something like that. Because I remember this one thingy song that Chris was singing about a monkey, a tiger, a pirate, and something else. I forgot now. Um, I forgot now. But I just remember this one, and that gives me the creeps as a kid as well. Uh, Believe me or not, I actually am not too keen on monkeys, if I have to tell the truth. Especially it's one that song by Bruno Mars. Oh, you guys can probably can easily can guess this. The Lazy Song. What kind of name is that? I mean, could Bruno Mars just think something like a proper name or something? I don't know. But like I said, those monkeys, well, thingy that the man was wearing, they gave me a creep. Hmm. Okay. Think you guys remember the Muppets? Well, to be honest, I kinda going to mention that Kermit the Frog used to scare me as a kid too. But don't get me wrong, I do like him from time to time. It depends really, but mostly as a kid, I did used to find him a bit scary. It's just the way he looks and that. I mean, can't really see like I don't know how to explain this, but his eyes, it doesn't look right to me. You know, the from the actual Muppet Show, um, something like that. It's just the way he looks, like I said, something like that. But believe me or not, I just find him a bit scary when I was a kid. He doesn't bother me no more, but sometimes it does remind me of how I used to get scared of him. And well, yeah. Oh, and there's other moments from the BFG movie. You know, the villain. I know his name, but sometimes I forgot. Sometimes I did remember, but forgot. Ugh. Well, you guys know what I mean. But I remember this villain, and the way he just pops out of nowhere, like from the ocean, and he just like lurks around the village or something, looking for a human being to eat. And I found that scene kind of a bit disturbing. I mean, if you guys remember this one scene where there's a little boy in his bed and the shadow of the villain's fingers just in the background, and I don't like it like one bit. But I also not like the other bit when the blood butler throws the beer G somewhere in the beginning of the movie, and then after he throws the beer G, he just nearly went close to the screen. I mean, jeez, get away from me, dude. Something like that. And I also don't like the bit when the Queen's nightmare scene, which was dreaming everything about the adventures with Sophie, the Bear Jane, and the giants, all like that. Don't like it that either. And I also find this obviously from the very end of, well, the glimpse of the Queen, the way she just stands there right next to Sophie, and the way she just looks down at Sophie. I didn't like it one bit either. So yeah, these are the moments from the BHG I didn't like as a kid. Oh, actually, there's another scene I forgot to mention. From where the BHG was somewhere in the sky, and this whole thingy like swirls around, like when he goes to his world and that. I don't like it one bit because you can see the BHG just keeps swinging his feet like in that in his black cloak, whatever you guys calls it, something like that. So these are the moments from the BFG I don't like. So, and I'm going to mention that if you guys remember this thingy logo called TriStar, with the horse, the flying one. Yeah, I don't like it as a kid, to be honest with you guys. But it doesn't bother me no more, because I kind of like, since I like unicorns and that, or Pegasus, or whatever, ponies. Well, you guys can possibly tell that I am a My Little Pony fan. And, well, speaking of horse, well, I rather go to say this anyway, because, well, even though I already told Sophie about it, so I'm kind of going to mention this to you guys too. So, I remember the scene from the film, the 70s film, but I didn't exactly watch the film actually, because I remember from this video that I shouldn't have watched it even though it was too late, but that was a long time ago and I was only a teenager, but I was like watching this sort of video, something to do and it's called Top 10 Non-Scary Moments from Films, but at the very beginning, it just shows up with the bit, with the horse from the 70s film called The Godfather. And I didn't like one bit. And that gives me a real fright, and I literally cried, jumped out of my skin, literally stormed out the room. And Mum hugged me, and my dad turned the video off, turned YouTube back on, and something like that. That's just how I remembered. But to tell you guys, I had to admit it. I wish I never had watched that video in the first place, but it was too late. But sadly, I still got that memory. But please don't watch it, you guys, because if you end up watching it, you'll be having the nightmares too, as I did. And I wouldn't blame you if you really want to see that film yourself, but I must warn you, you might not like it because, like I said, this horse man. Ugh. Okay, Oh, I just remember the scene from Harry Potter and the Chambers of Secrets. You probably might see my post about it, but I kind of deleted it because I wasn't comfortable on keeping it. So, spiders. Well, technically, I am scared of spiders, like really in real life, to be honest. Aside from online, well, every time I see a spider, I always like, "Eek, get away from me, creepy." You know, but don't get me wrong. I know there's some people who do like spiders, but to me and other people, it like who's a bit like I am, are afraid of spiders. Well, you can't possibly blame each other for being scared of spiders, but that's just part of life, you know. And sometimes we may have to get used to it, you know. No. Well, I just remember this one scene from Harry Potter, Chambers of Secrets film. And to tell you guys this, I always find Arakel the spider very scary when I was younger. And he still does actually, even though I am scared of spiders myself, right? Like still. Growing up. Okay. But I also remember this episode from the original classic of Doctor Who, and it's called Planet of the Spiders. I didn't exactly watch the episode, but I have seen some few clips of it on YouTube, like sometimes before from years ago. And I didn't like it one bit when the spider just jumps onto this man's back. And it was like controlling him, and then he sort of like zapping people. I don't know what it was though. I mean, what kind of zap is it? I don't know, but I just remembered. And yeah, I kind of remembered this episode from Charlie and Lola. You know, the episode, the very first episode, which is actually based after the book of it, and it says, well, it's called "I Would Never Ever Eat a Tomato." Well, to be honest with you guys, some of you guys from the US or USA may say tomato, but in the UK we say tomato. Tomato. Tomato, tomato, potato. I remember this song from the Wiggles actually. A potato, a potato. You might like to listen to that song actually. It's quite good and it's kind of catchy because every time I listen to that music, I mean, watch the video of it, my dad always comes in and, you know, like dancing along, and I was like, give me a break. Okay. I don't want to go into details here. Well, like I said, in that episode, Trying Lola, I remember this scene when Lola is in space and then this sort of like an alien creature was just grabs the carrots of Lola, and then he just swallows them up. And that alien actually scares me as a kid as well. Can't possibly blame me for being scared of aliens, can ya? Well, to tell you guys this, I just don't really like the way it looks. But do you guys remember my video with the Disney Princess DVD thingy that I reviewed? And well, if you guys do, I remember this episode of Aladdin when I was watching this DVD, and technically I don't like it. The scene when Jasmine just hissed at Aladdin. I mean, that always gave me a jump every time I watch that. Okay. But believe me, I'm not scared of snakes or anything, but even though I am scared of spiders, but snakes, they don't bother me. But I'm not really too keen on Carl the Snake from Jungle Book. He's too weird. He can be funny, but he's just such a, well, he's just so obsessed with eating Mowgli or Shanti or whatever. And don't forget the Jafar as a snake in Aladdin, the cartoon version, of course. And I might as already said this sometimes before, that if you guys remember being the Big Blue House, even though I already mentioned that earlier on, but there's another thing that I didn't like, to be honest, as a kid. The outro, the ending with, the credits, like when the house closes and then just zoomed away. That's the thing I didn't like as a kid either. It's just like every time I watch that bit when the house like open, I always get spooked by it. Like there's no characters or anything. It's just empty, Don't get me wrong, because as a kid, I also used to get scared of Ray the Sun. Well, not the one that some of you guys know from the Disney Playhouse, but the original one. Sometime in the 90s, the original design of Ray the Sun, which he only has like eyebrows. To be honest, I always find that really confusing. How come he didn't have any eyes? I mean, how come he just have eyebrows? I mean, that's quite a bit scary and confusing at the same time, to be honest. But luckily though, even though I believe some people, including you, some of you guys have seen the one on the Disney Playhouse. I would say that they changed the design of Ray the Sun for the Disney Playhouse channel. You guys know what I mean, but yeah, something like that. So, okay. Do you guys remember this Disney movie called Basil the Great Mouse Detective? Well, I would say I remember there's two moments that I didn't like as a kid on this movie. From the very beginning, sometime when the father got kidnapped by the bat. Well, after he sort of like hides Olivia in a cupboard, and then this bat just crashed in the house, and his face just like went closer to the screen. I mean, that scared me the most as a kid when watching that movie. I also didn't like the other bit, when he kidnapped Olivia. I didn't like that either. Oh, spooky. But I also remember this other moment from that film that I also get spooked. It doesn't scare me that much or anything, but it did bother me as a kid. But if you guys remember this villain, I know his name, but like I said, I sometimes forget. But I don't like the bit when he gets angry, he changes into something really horrible. I mean, the way I don't know whether it's sort of like a transformation or that's just the way he does when he gets angry. I mean, and the way he was like running, something like that. Okay, calm down, Miss Sparkle. And I wasn't sure if anyone else may remember this sort of like a DVD called Cult Kids. Well, there's two actually. One of them actually begins with a K, and one of them begins with a C. But I just remembered the one that begins with a C. Every time I started watching that DVD, I didn't like it one bit. With the logo. I forgot the name of of that thingy building of it, but some of you might remember. I don't know, but I just remember it. It's just the way the music plays gives me a jump, and then after that, the whole thing with the main menu of the DVD and shows different kind of cartoons that appears, and it plays each of the intros in that. But one of them includes Bottom Moon. To be honest, I don't really like Bottom Moon that much. I did like it, but as a kid, I find the theme song of Bottom Moon very scary, which I still find it a bit scary nowadays, but you can't possibly blame me. It's just the way it plays. Sometimes it just never gets out of my head. It's just the way it plays and that. But I remember this picture of Danger Mouse where he has his finger up. Yeah, something like that. I don't like that picture of Danger Mouse like one bit as a kid. Because every time that main menu is on of the Coast Kids DVD, I always get spooked by that picture that I remember of the way it looks. If you're interested on watching it, it's clearly up to you guys. And to be honest, I kind of going to say some of you may find it a bit little offended, but you have to take it easy on me because I'm scared of Optimus Prime. Well, and I understand some of you who are the fan of Optimus Prime, but to be honest with you guys, I don't really like him that much. He just scares me. And all I'm trying to say, all I want you to guys to please respect, and please do not say what is wrong with you. Why are you so scared of Optimus Prime? I mean, I like him, and why you don't like him? So I want you guys to understand that you can't change the facts about, well, because I remember the scene from the 1986 film with Optimus Prime's death scene when he was dying, and I didn't like that bit. That scene like one bit when I was younger. I was like a teenager when I first watched this sort of video about top 10 sad death moments in cartoons, and that includes Optimus Prime. But I also remember the one with the iron stove. Some of you may have seen that film sometimes before. I always find the iron stove too creepy for me. Just the way he looks. Yeah, I just want you guys to understand that I am scared of Optimus Prime, like literally. But like I said, please respect. Okay? So please don't judge me just because of that, because I'll be offended. So please, if you don't like my own facts, then don't say anything at all or anything. If you don't like my own opinion about Optimus Prime, so keep it to yourself, okay? So oh, I also kind of forgot. You guys remember when I mentioned about the dragons on Shrek? Well, some of you guys have seen this short film called The Ghost of Lord Farquaad. I also got spooked by the statue version of the dragon, and it's just the way the head's tails are looking at Shrek and Donkey. That gives me the spooky deuce. And I also remember some of the things that I also scared of from Sarah Jane Adventures, like the Bane or Slovene, and there's some others that well, I remember this very first episode, but it's actually like I don't know how many minutes it was, but it's just like a special pilot episode of Sarah Jane Adventures, like the beginning of her adventures with the teenagers as a group. And I also kind of remember this young girl called Maria, even though she was new at the time because she only just moved to Bannerman Road. And I remember the scene when the scene where Maria heard the noise from the outside, and then she just woke up from her bed, got up, and then sneaks out of her house just because of that. And then she just sneaks into Sarah Jane's garden and saw this spingy alien in Sarah Jane's garden. I also kind of scared of that alien when I was a kid too, but you can't possibly blame me for that either. Well, it doesn't bother me no more, but still, it can give you a bit of spooks, like like that. Well, like that. And you guys remember the crocodile from Peter Pan? Well, he doesn't scare me like entirely, but as a kid, I did find him a bit creepy actually. It's just the way he looks and that, and his sort of obsession with Captain Hook, like, snappy, snappy, I want to eat you, you little catfish, something like that. But I give you a bit of giggle there, Sophie, because I know you like Peter Pan and that. Can't possibly blame me, Sophie. And if some of you guys remember, like, the VHS and that, like videotapes, like watching the openings from each of the Disney films on your own VHS thing. Let's just say, like this pirate copy thingy warning advert. I always found it a bit scary as a kid. The original one from sometime in the 90s version. What scares me the most was the bit where a young boy speaks up and saying to his mum and said the picture's so funny and saying, I can't hear it. Something like that. And then the man's voice, ugh, And I kindly already said this sometimes before I made my video that, like Lilo and Stitch 2, Stitch has a glitch. Well, I've already explained that I also used to get scared of when Stitch glitches, I don't really like it, like, one bit when he flitches, and like, I don't really like that much as a kid, even though I remember a disc of my own DVD, and it's got a picture of Stitch, well, 3 of Stitch, actually, with his eyes all green, like, flitching on the island, and I didn't like one bit of that disc, actually. And, yeah, I just remembered. But like I said in my own community post, but what I didn't like here, as a kid, was where Stitch was dancing as Elvis on the chair, something like that, and then he started doing like something like that. But you can't possibly blame me for being scared of that bit, But it's mainly scary on the trailer version, actually, because I remember the trailer of Lilo and Stitch 2, because I remember watching it from Tarzan 2 DVD. And Cinderella DVD as well. Yeah, I just, And I also got to speak from this, like, scene selection thingy on Lilo and Stitch 2 DVD. Like the first one, with 1, 2, 3, but the picture on the number 3, where you can see Stitch and Lilo and the family are watching the movie. I don't like that picture on that scene selection thingy. And I also don't like the main menu, the music start playing the moment when you, the moment the main menu starts playing when you watching Stitch the movie DVD, something like that. I don't like it one bit. As a kid, though. Yeah. Trying to think something else here. Okay. So, I don't know if everyone remembers Basil Brush. Well, he doesn't scare me at all, but I remember the CBBC show of Basil Brush, and I don't like it one bit. When we see Basil was like falling down or something, like and it was like boom boom, something like that. I don't like it one bit as a kid, to be honest with you guys. And I also remember this one episode from Peppa Pig, about Mr. Skinny Leg, the spider. Well, I believe that actually a banned episode in Australia, and I can't possibly blame Australia for doing that, because I believe the spiders from Australia are poisonous. So, So, I'm lucky enough that I don't have any spiders like that in my country, cause, well, can't possibly blame Australia anyway, because that's just the way it is, you know. And oh yeah, I just remember something else. I just remembered, you know, this the original Xbox, not the the one that you guys know for nowadays, but there's I remember the old version of the Xbox, but I remember the moment the Xbox starts to come on and that the music, oh, give me a bit of hibbies. But it doesn't scare me or anything. It's just the way it played. It kind of give me a little ooh, something like that. And yeah, I'm um oh, and I kind of forgot to mention, you know Tarzan 2, right? But I remember this one scene after the song, um, it, you know that the song about Run Away from Home by Phil Collins, when Tarzan just like ran away from home because everyone believes that he's like he died or anything, but clearly he didn't. But after that song's finished, and then Tarzan was like sighing and all that until he hears like a little noise, and then as he was about to reach to the bushes, the eyes pops up, and it's that Sabor. But I just remember that bit gave me a fright all the time as a kid. It's just the way she just like jumped out of the bushes, like out of nowhere. Like how does she got there? That's the biggest question to know about. Well, but she also gave me, well, she did the same thing in the original movie, actually. If you guys remember, when after Carla was hooking the baby Tarzan in the first movie, and when Sabor appears on top of, somewhere on top of the ceiling, and she just like jumps at you. Well, not really you, but Carla. That's what I'm saying. Um, let's just say that always gave me a jump. Like, I was like, something like that. Okay. Um, but I also remember the scene from Ratatouille. You know, Remy, the mouse, the rat, right? Well, let's just say I remember the scene when, from the very beginning, where, when the windows crashes and then it just pulls, like, only just for a few seconds, with Remy, with that sort of face, like, when he was holding a book. I mean, what kind of face is that? That gave me a right jump as a kid. Can't possibly blame me because it can happen to everyone, jump scare. And I also remember this other scene where Remy was, after Remy got separated from his family and he was in the sort of like dirty place, all like water and all kinds, and he was reading the book about Gusteau, the chef. And I remember this picture of Gusteau sniffing a cake. Ugh. As a kid, I did find that picture scary as a kid. Can't possibly blame me for that either. Okay, maybe that's just me being silly. But I also got scared of the bit, after, well, when Raimi nearly ran away from Linguini, and then he realized that he can't just leave, and then he just, like, standing there, and the glimpse of Linguini from further away from Raimi. I mean, when he just stand up, I didn't like it one bit. But that's also the thing from the scene selection of the DVD of Ratatouille, because it's got the picture of that as well. You know what I mean, right? Well, that's what I'm saying. And if you guys remember when I mentioned about the spider, Aragog the spider from Harry Potter, he's not the only, well, let's say that's not the only scene that I don't like from Harry Potter. If you guys remember the troll scene from the very first film, the Philosopher's Stone, I just remember that troll. He gives me a GBs as well as a kid. And do you guys remember the short from Lilo and Stitch, and it's called The Origin of Stitch? Well, can I just be honest? I find it a bit scary, even though it's not really scary. But I remember I used to get this sort of like a jump scare, like after this woman stopped talking, only just for a few seconds, and then the on the thingy screen where Stitch was watching about that's all about himself and him in this red thingy costume. It just like something like that. And that scared me as a kid. Not really entirely. It's just like a jump scare. But it's pretty normal to get jump scare, you know, guys. Believe me or not, it can happen to anyone in real life. And if you guys remember the scene from the Snow White where the queen transformed into an old hag, well, don't tell me about it. It's just the way her hands just shows off, and then you can see her bones inside. Ugh. Disgusting. Okay. And do you guys remember Beauty and the Beast? Well, actually, the Beast doesn't really scare me or anything, but I remember this two moments that the Beast did scare me once as a kid. Like where Maurice was in the castle at the time and he was on the chair, and then out of the sudden the Beast just barged in, and then you can see him just stand there, and he looks totally different to what he looked like while watching the movie from that moment. And the next thing I didn't like about the Beast were when Belle asked him to reveal himself, and he stands into the light, and then someone like that gives me a bit a high jump as well sometimes. Not all the time though. And I also remember this one episode from Horrid Henry, and it's called Horrid Henry and the Alien Invasion. But I also kind of forgot to mention about that actually, because I remember this one moment where when Henry fought Margaret and all the girls are aliens because they keep singing the song like la 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 la, something like that, and I was like, okay, seriously, Henry, just because they're singing doesn't mean they're aliens, so like give the girls a break, Henry. He always thinks everything worse about the girls, although Margaret will always think worse about the boys. And do you remember this character called Margot, the giant gingerbread man from Shrek 2? He doesn't actually scare me, but I remember this one moment that he did give me a high jump as a kid, where after he all those guards throws giant water over his head, which turned him into a girl. Not really, just like giving him a girly look. Something like that. That scared me as big as a kid, actually. But it doesn't scare me now, actually, because, well, anyway, it's kind of obvious, but I do find it a bit funny. And you guys remember the poison apple thingy place where the villains, go for a drink and that? Well, I actually kind of find that scene a bit scary sometimes. It depends, really, like what kind of mood you're in, something like that. And well, I also remember I used to get scared of the moment where King Harold was in this cellar with Puss in Boots, even though you didn't actually see his whole character thingy or anything, just his eyes and his boots. I mean, where the hell is his head? How can you just see his eyes? That's just a bit weird. Okay, so there are two other things that I won't mention, and I promise you guys this will be the two last things to mention, and I'll let you guys have a bit of break. So, I'm going to mention this cartoon, but actually, hang on a minute. No, three last things actually. Sorry. So I remember this one thing with, Tom and Jerry, right? So I remember this moment, but I think it's the very last episode of the original series of Tom and Jerry. You know where Tom and Jerry just sat down on the train track? It's just the way Tom's eyes will look tired. I didn't like it one bit though. I was really younger when I first saw that. And I also remember this cartoon, but I didn't actually watch the cartoon or anything, but I remember from a video about sad moments from cartoons, and it actually includes this cartoon with a dog, a bulldog actually, and he was obsessed with looking after a cat, something like that. But I would like to ask you guys this: can you please do not tell me what's the name of it, or please do not share the link either, because if you do, I'll not be happy, because I will delete it no matter what. Okay? So thank you, and please respect that. And I also got scared of the moment when, Bert and Ernie of Sesame Street, right? Well, I'm not scared of that really, but let's just say I remember this moment when they're both up in the cinema, and I don't know if you guys might remember this one, where about a woman with a very tall hat. Well, yeah, because I remember I told Sophie about it, because although Sophie did watch it with me, well, when we were kids actually, when we used to be in primary school, when we were kids, and I remember watching a VHS, something to do with Bert and Ernie, something like that. So I just remember watching that VHS, and that includes that cinema thing with the woman with the tall hat. Yeah, so that's all I'm going to say. And I don't like it one bit after when Ernie said thank you to Bert for the advice and that, and then even though the woman did put her hat in front of Bert because, until Bert was can't see, you only can see him go left, right, because the hat was blocking his way, and then he just sort of sighed. I didn't like that bit one bit as a kid too. So yeah. And there's also another moment when Ernie and Bert were in a pyramid, and a statue that looks a bit similar to Ernie, he can be a bit creepy too, but I kind of find him a bit funny sometimes. When Ernie said, "You didn't speak to me, did you, statue?" And then the statue's like, "Sure I did." Something like that. And then Ernie was like, "Bert! Bert!" And Ernie was like, Bert was like, what? Something like that. Okay. I know I'm a bit crazy here, and I know you're laughing too, Sophie King. I mean, Sophie Pan. Ugh, stupid me. Okay, slap myself. Okay, just one more and that's it. Okay, so I remember this one moment, and I don't exactly know what the number of the episode it was, but all I remember this moment where you know the Count, right? You know the Dracula who likes counting all the time. Let's just say he was sleeping over in this Bert and Ernie's house. It's somewhere in the hotel, I think, I don't know, or the flat, something like that, I don't know. But okay, I didn't like it one bit when Ernie just appeared, looking like a zombie, 1, 2, 3 sheep, 1, 2, 3 sheep, 1, 2, 3 6. And Bert was like, "Ernie, can you hear me?" Something like that. And then Ernie was like, "Sheep." Even though that did scare me when I was younger, but it still gave me a bit of speak, but I do still find it a bit funny. So let's just say I found it a bit of a mix, actually. Scary and funny at the same time. Can't possibly blame me. So yeah, until when Ernie just sort of like fell down like like that. And that is it. So these are the things that I got scared of. Some of the things I scared of as a kid, and some of them I got scared as a teenager. Some of the things that I'm still scared of right now at the moment, but I will grow out of it at some point. Although it might be a bit hard because, like I said, from the beginning, that sometimes that we have to accept it or move on or get used to it, something like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed my video, and I bet you guys think it a bit weird to talk about things like this, you know. But possibly I don't blame you guys for thinking something like that. But I do find myself crazy sometimes when I have to do some of the things to describe, you know. Okay, so like I said, I'll leave you guys to it. And if you're new to my channel, be free to subscribe, give it a bit of like, and press the notification bell to receive my video every day. I'll catch you guys very soon. So, Sparkle Girl, out.